Hello, I would like to present here research about non-model vibrational analysis method for health monitoring of structural joints. Structural health of the joints play an important role in behavior of the building structures. Structural health monitoring methods enable to investigate and carry under the control behavior of structural joints during the whole service life of the buildings. Choice of structural health monitoring methods depend on the material of the joint structural members, its loading case, joint structure, and its stiffness. Since the beginning of the 21st century, many structural health monitoring methods have been developed to investigate structural behavior by means of vibration analysis. Vibration analysis methods make it possible to determine possible damages of structures or structural joints due to changes in frequency response, model shape, its attenuation, etc. Methods based on vibration analysis are classified into two categories: methods based on the use of ready-made mathematical models and methods that don't employ models for vibration analysis. Current paper discusses various vibration analysis methods for assessing a structural health of the joint. The aim of current investigation is to determine a structural joint stiffness as a function from the vibration parameters of the structure. Non-model vibration analysis method for health monitoring of structural joints should be suggested. The measuring device with the description of its components or as main stage of the suggested method application should be described for the purpose. Joints of steel structures can be divided into the following groups dependently on the type of steel members are joints: beams to columns joints, beams to beams joints, columns to columns joints, and columns to foundation joints. The joints are classified according to initial stiffness as pinned. Joint does not transmit any bending moment. Semi-rigid joints transfer some bending moments, and its behavior needs to be considered in global analysis. And a rigid joint has no effect on the analysis. Members are rigidly connected to each other and fully transmit bending moments. Semi-rigid and pinned beams to beams joint is considered as an object of investigation in the current study. To check the suggested non-model vibration analysis method and to determine structural joint stiffnesses function from the structural vibration parameters, steel beams stand consisting of the main and additional beams and joined together by the semi-rigid joint with the variable stiffness was considered as an object of the investigation. The beam stand was led by the system of vertical concentrated forces changed within the limits from 0 to 10 kilonewtons with the step of 1 kilonewton. Three couples of deflectometers and strain measuring devices were used to determine the experimental values of stresses and maximum vertical displacement. Statical test of the steel beam stand was carried out to specify the statical schemes of the considered beams stand and stiffness of the joint. Two cases of the steel beams joint were considered. Rigid joint was obtained when the bolt was completely fixed by the maximum force added to the nut by the torque wrench, and pinned joint was provided when the nut was deleted. Experimentally and analytically, the obtained values of the maximum vertical displacements and stresses when the structure was loaded by the 10 kN large total vertical load are shown in the table for all three positions of beam's stand. The values are shown for the case when the joint of the steel beams have its maximum stiffness. Comparison of obtained results enable to conclude that the investigated joint can be considered as the rigid ones when the total value of the vertical load does not exceed the 10 kN. The difference between the experimentally and analytically obtained results does not exceed 6.61% for stresses and 7.54% for the maximum vertical displacements. Dynamic test of the steel beam stand was carried out to determine structural joint stiffness as a function from the vibration parameters of the structure. The joint stiffness was varied by the changing of the force of the knots warping. The steel beam's joint stiffness was numerically reflected by the maximum bending moment which it can take up. The value of bending moment changing within the limits from 0 correspond to pin joint to 150 Newton meter during the experiment. Bending moment in the joint is provided by Turkey wrench. The additional beam was subjected to a vibration load provided by the electrodynamics actuators fixed on the edge of the additional beam. Vibration in the different parts of the joint was fixed in the three spatial directions by the using of 3D accelerometers joined with the computer. Each of accelerometers take up vibration records in 6 directions, which are shown on the figure. The differences in vibration records were reached in 3 directions: 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5. CPU software is used for analyzing of obtained vibration records. Natural frequencies were fixed in the point of 3D accelerometer placements. The frequencies enable to determine the correlation factors, so the structural joint stiffness as a function from the maximum coaxial correlation factors were obtained in 3 directions: 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, which are shown on the figures. Practical application of the suggested non-model vibration analysis method for health monitoring of structural joints contains the following stages. Preparation process, which includes choose of static scan, check documentation and visual inspection of the structure, test of the analyzed joint by the vibration load provided by the electrodynamic actuators, analysis of the obtained results, determination of the correlation factors in 3 directions basing on the natural frequencies fixed by 3D accelerometers, and conclusions regarding structural quality of the considered joint. By comparison of the graph of the obtained values with the graph of the reference measurements. Reference measurements is for 2 cases, when structure is loaded only by dead weight and with maximal design load in the test area. If obtained graph of maximum correlation values fits between the reference graphs, the structural joint is not deformed and operates it's as specified in the static diagram. If no, then additional detailed analysis is needed. Non-modal vibration analysis method for health monitoring of structural joints was suggested and experimentally checked by the steel beam stand. The experimental obtained results of the tested stand with rigid and pinned joints with sufficient accuracy describes the results obtained by analytical calculations. The structural joint stiffness was determined as a function from the correlation factor determined on the basis of the natural frequencies. There is a direct relationship between the value of the correlation factor and the stiffness of the joint. The higher the factor, the larger stiffness of the joint. The largest jump in the correlation factor is observed in phase between the pinned and semi-rigid joint. Thank you for attention.